Radhavala Prabhu, your camera is on, seems like. Yeah, you can leave it on if you want. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the morning Bhagavatam class, February 28th, 2023. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashtaprayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripātamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 12th chapter, text 15 onwards. So you can follow along if you want on your phone or wherever. Wonderful. Text 15. Sattvam rajastama iti prakriterna atmano gunaha tatra sakshinam atmanam yo veda sa na padyate. Sattvam rajastama iti prakriterna atmano gunaha tatra sakshinam atmanam yo veda sa na padyati. Paschimam nirjitam shatru Riknayudha bhujam ridhe Ghatamanam yatha shakti Tava prana jihirshaya Paschimam nirjitam shatru Riknayudha bhujam ridhe Ghatamanam yatha shaktir Tava prana jihirshaya. Text 16, text 17. Pranaklahoyam samara Ishva aksho vahanashanaha patra na jnayate amushya jayo amushya parajayah pranaklaho ayam samara ishva aksho vahanashanaha patra na jnayate mushya jayo mushya parajayah. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Text 15. So, Vrtrasura is continuing to instruct Indra and all of us. Very beautiful section. One who knows that the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are not qualities of the soul, but qualities of material nature, and who knows that the pure soul is simply an observer of the actions and reactions of these qualities, should be understood to be a liberated person. He is not bound by these qualities. Yo Veda na sa na badhyate. One who knows this is not bound by these qualities. Translation text 15. Then translation text 16. O my enemy, just look at me. I have already been defeated, for my weapon and arm have been cut to pieces. You have already overwhelmed me, but nonetheless, with a desire to kill you, I am trying my best to fight. I am not at all morose, even under such adverse conditions. Therefore, you should give up your moroseness and continue fighting. Text 17. O my enemy, consider this battle a gambling match in which our lives are at stake, are the stakes. The arrows are the dice, and the animals acting as carriers are the game board. Chess match like that, or gambling match. Right. No one can understand who will be defeated and who will be victorious. It all depends on providence. I just read text 18 and stop reading them, but yeah, we'll not discuss this, I think. Sukadeva Goswami said, hearing the straightforward instructive words of Vrtrasura, King Indra praised him and again took the thunderbolt in his hand. Without bewilderment or duplicity, he then smiled and spoke to Vrtrasura as follows. So he's recognizing him as a pure devotee. Indra said, O great demon, I see by your discrimination and endurance in devotional service. I see by your discrimination and endurance in devotional service, despite your dangerous position, that you are a perfect devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul and friend of everyone. You have surmounted the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, and because of this liberation, you have given up the demoniac mentality and have attained the position of an exalted devotee. O Vrtrasura, demons are generally conducted by the mode of passion. Therefore, what a great wonder it is that although you're a demon, you have adopted the mentality of a devotee and have fixed your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva is always situated in pure goodness. Person fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, Hari, the Lord of the highest auspiciousness, swims in the ocean of nectar. For him, what is the use of the water in small ditches? So Indra is acknowledging that you don't care for this water in small ditches, but I do. Yes. Well, I'll stop myself here. So text 15, coming back to text 15. One who knows that the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are not qualities of the soul, but qualities of material nature, and who knows that the pure soul is simply an observer of the actions and reactions of these qualities, should be understood to be a liberated person. He is not bound by these qualities. Krishna Lila Mataji will love this verse. I'll send it to her later. Purport. As the Lord explains in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nasochati Nakangshati Samma Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Lavate Param. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. One who is transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. When one attains self-realization, the Brahmabhuta stage, one knows that whatever happens during his life is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. When one attains self-realization, the Brahmabhuta stage, one knows that whatever happens during his life is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. The living being, the pure soul, has nothing to do with these modes. In the midst of the hurricane of the material world, everything changes very quickly. But if one remains silent and simply observes the actions and reactions of the hurricane, is understood to be liberated. She loved this purport. The real qualification of the liberated soul is that he remains Krishna conscious, undisturbed by the actions and reactions of the material energy. Such a liberated person is always jubilant. He never laments or aspires for anything. Since everything is supplied to the Supreme Lord, the living entity, being fully dependent on him, should not protest or accept anything in terms of his personal sense gratification. Rather, he should receive everything as the mercy of the Lord and remain steady in all circumstances. Next sloka. Put, oh my enemy, before the translation, oh my enemy, just look at me. I have already been defeated, or my weapon and arm have been cut to pieces. You have already overwhelmed me, but nonetheless, with a desire to kill you, I'm trying my best to fight. I'm not at all morose, even under such adverse conditions. Therefore, you should give up your moroseness and continue fighting. Vrtrasura was so great and powerful that, in effect, he was acting as a spiritual master of Indra. Although Vrtrasura was on the verge of defeat, he was not at all affected. He knew that he was going to be defeated by Indra, and he voluntarily accepted that. This is important. He knew that he was going to be defeated by Indra, and he voluntarily accepted that. Jiva Krishna Das, Jiva Krishna Das, Hey Vishwas, Korle to Ar, Dukh Nai. Profound Bhaktivinoda Thakur statement in a bhajan. Jiva Krishna Das, Hey Vishwas, Korle to Ar, Dukh Nai. The living entity understands, accepts, has faith that he is a servant of Krishna. That's it. Korale to Ar Dukh Nai. There is no more misery. He knew that he was going to be defeated by Indra, and he voluntarily accepted that. But since he was supposed to be Indra's enemy, he tried his best to kill Indra. Thus he performed his duty. One should perform his duty under all circumstances, even though one may know what the result will be. Wow. Hare Krishna. So the first verse is about the three modes of material nature, and one who sees things as they are. He sees the modes of material nature. He sees the soul, himself as the spirit soul. The observer as an observer, he lives as an observer of the actions and the reactions of these qualities, is understood to be a liberated person. Bhagavad Gita 101 is not bound by these qualities. Yeah, recently, one day I was hearing a lecture of Guru Maharaj, and at the end of the lecture, one devotee, he asked him a question. Srila Prabhupada has, hammered this teaching so many times that we are not the body, but we are the spirit soul. So the devotee was asking, but how does one recognize, or what are the symptoms of one who is actually on that platform? Not theoretically he understands that he's not the body, but he's a spirit soul. But practically he understands. Maharaj quoted this verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. These are the symptoms. A person living on the soul platform, he is jubilant. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. He is jubilant. Na sochati na kankshati. He doesn't hanker or lament. Samma sarveshu bhuteshu. And he sees all living entities equally. So these three things Maharaj is saying, this is sort of the litmus test. Mad bhaktim labate param. And then from that joyful place, he renders devotional service. Coincidentally, this morning again, I was hearing Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj's very famous verses, 7th canto, 10th chapter, where Prahlad is saying that our relationship, the relationship that we have is very, very simple. You are my master, I am your servant. There is nothing else going on. Nrsimhadev asks him to ask him for any benediction. And Prahlad is saying that there is nothing else going on. Yeah. And he says both ways, that if the disciple or if the devotee, for him something is going on or he has other motivations, he is not wise. And vice versa, if the spiritual master or the Lord, he is also fulfilling such desires of his disciple, he is also not wise. And so he's talking about this ahetuki bhakti, ahetuki, the devotion that has no cause. But Maharaj was mentioning, well, but what is there in this material world that doesn't have a cause? Everything has a cause. So ahetuki bhakti means the cause is just love. That's it. There is no material cause. So the cause is there. Of course, the cause is always there. But the cause is a spiritual cause or is a devotional cause. There's no material cause. Yeah. So here it is mentioned, Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. Then from that place, he attains, he goes further. And then he attains pure devotional service unto me. So, yeah, even beyond the vidhis, yeah, he performs devotional service just out of love, out of his free will choice. One can say even Raga Bhakti, this Raga Marga. Yeah. Next one, when one attains self-realization, the Brahmabhuta stage, one knows that whatever happens during his life is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. One would think, Prabhupada may say, when one attains self-realization, the Brahmabhuta stage, one knows that whatever happens during his life is by the will of Krishna or something like that. But anyway, if we dissect this, during his life is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. So that is the way I understand it is. From the living entity's perspective, the living entity is eternal. So this life and death, this concept of life and death, in a way it only pertains to the body. So in that sense, whatever is happening in this life, quote unquote, in this life, is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. So we receive this body in one sense. Prakriti gives us this body, and then the actions that we perform, they're again driven by the modes of material nature. So everything is, I guess, driven by that. Till one learns the art of devotional service, then that's different. इहा यस्य हरेर्दाशे कर्मणा मनसा गिरा निखिलाश्वापि अवस्थासु जीवन मुक्त स उच्यते. Or what is that verse? Mam cha yo bhaktiravyapicharini sagunan samitatyaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Same verse almost. Mam cha yo bhaktiravyapicharini sagunan samitatyaitan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. I think I'm missing a line somewhere in this verse. So there also it is mentioned that he transcends the modes of material nature. Mam cha yo bhakti ravyapisharani. If he performs uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service, sa gunan samatityaitan, then he transcends the modes of material nature, and he's on this brahmabhuyaya kalpate. He's on this platform, brahmabhuta pasannatma. So Prabhupada is saying that the living being, the pure soul, has nothing to do with these modes. In the midst of the hurricane of the material world, everything changes very quickly. But if one remains silent and simply observes the actions and reactions of the hurricane, is understood to be liberated. Anyway, this is quite a profound, graphic image Prabhupada is given. The living entity being the pure soul has nothing to do with these modes. But in the midst of the hurricane of the material world, everything changes very quickly. But if one remains silent and simply observes the actions and reactions of the hurricane, is understood to be liberated. Yeah, this hurricane. So recently, one devotee sent a post. This, this earthquake that happened in Turkey and Syria and all that. So there was this. So practically overnight, in a fraction of a second or in a few seconds, people's life turned upside down. And specifically to emphasize the point, there was one person who was shown, he apparently owned, 12 to 13, I guess, apartment complexes or real estate complexes. He was on the streets. I mean, he had no shelter. He had no roof. Just in a matter of 5 seconds. So this hurricane of the material world, we can understand it in three main ways in one sense. Of course, there is the Adidaivika Klesha, literally the hurricane and the tsunami and the earthquakes and all that. Adidaivika Klesha, Adhyatmika Klesha, and Adibhautika Klesha. They all bring some turbulence, hurricanes into our lives. Like I was discussing on Sunday, Dhruva Maharaj's life, was just going on wonderfully, I guess, or not so wonderfully. I mean, there were problems in the palace already. There was there was envy and jealousy and all that. But Dhruva did not, I guess, see it coming. But one fine day, he was just innocently wanted to just sit in his father's lap. And his mother, stepmother, she rained on him. Yeah, like a hurricane. Yeah. He didn't know, I'm sure, yeah, he was stunned, like, what's going on? Because in that innocence, he probably even didn't know that there is this friends and enemies business. I thought she was my mother. Why is she speaking to me like that? So this hurricane came Anyway, so this hurricane comes in our life at all stages of life. They keep coming. Childhood, then teenage is definitely a very turbulent and like a hurricane going on. But there is an end there. Then we so-called, we become a little stable in Grihastashram, but then the hurricanes and the waves, they keep coming. Yeah. But again, like in Dhruva's case, somehow that situation of a hurricane, it turned around with the association of devotees. He was able to navigate, the turbulence. So it turned into a blessing. He went to his mother. His mother pacified him, and then in anger, he said essentially, "Who cares about this Italy bitly in small kingdom of my father? Who cares? I want a kingdom even greater than Lord Brahma. He can have his kingdom. My brother can have his kingdom. I'll even get a better thing than my father." So motivated by anger, but he asked his mother, "What should I do? How can I get this?" And then she said, "Well, Lord Brahma, everything that the Lord Brahma has, he got it from Vishnu. Your grandfather, Swayambhuva Manu, he worshipped Vishnu. He got what he got." She doesn't say about Maharaj Uttanpada much, but she says, "Your grandfather, your great grandfather, they worship Vishnu and they got what they got. So you could worship Vishnu." So His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj was explaining. So there is this myth that people that worship Lord Vishnu, they become beggars. He said, no. Actually, the greatest of, richest of people are worshippers of Vishnu. Not that we want that, but even if you want that, you worship Vishnu. Why would you worship the demigods? So she tells him to worship Vishnu, find Vishnu. He said, okay, where is Vishnu? Well, she says, I don't know, but I've heard that the sages, they go to the forest. I said, okay, I'll go to the forest. 5-year-old boy makes up his mind. Well, he's thinking, as Maharaj was explaining, other one Maharaj, well, what's there to lose? In my home, my father doesn't have my back. What's the point here? What's the point of living here? My own father, he didn't stand up for me. He doesn't have my back. So, I mean, the forest is better. Like Chanakya Pandit says, right? Some secular verse. If there isn't a loving atmosphere in the home, wife, mother, etc., then the forest is better than that. So anyway, so here Prabhupada is talking about in the midst of the hurricane of the material world, everything changes very quickly. But if one remains silent and simply observes the actions and reactions of the hurricane, is understood to be liberated. But how does one remain silent and in this observant mode? We have to learn that, right? Somebody has to teach us. It's not natural for us. Our natural condition is to react and not respond, but react. So we need to learn this. How to ride the storm, how to stay in the hurricane. So then we need we need this transcendental boat of Krishna consciousness, which can withstand even a hurricane. Not like a Titanic kind of a boat, but a transcendental boat that doesn't sink. So anyway, so we need to learn this. remaining silent and simply observing the actions and reactions of the hurricane is understood to be liberated. The real qualification of the liberated soul is that he remains Krishna conscious. Like the Sthita Prajna verse in Bhagavad Gita, we see so many, like the rivers, so many rivers are flowing into the ocean, but the ocean remains undisturbed. So many desires and hurricanes and all are coming, but he remains undisturbed. The Sthita Prajna. So it doesn't happen overnight. Dhira. One time Srila Prabhupada was going in a cab and his cab driver was asking him, "Oh, are you a yogi or something?" He was very, very sense controlled. Like, you can walk on a bed of nails, or you can stand in the middle of a fire, encircled by fire, and you'll not be affected by it. Or you'll stay submerged in icy cold water and not be affected by it. Prabhupada said even better. I said, what? So Srila Prabhupada said, I can walk into a room full of naked women and not be agitated by it. Oh, so the driver said, wow, yeah, that's real. That's something. So the real qualification of the liberated soul is that he remains Krishna conscious, undisturbed by the actions and reactions of the material energy. Such a liberated person is always jubilant. He never laments or aspires for anything. Like Srila Prabhupada is a great example when he came, when he tried to establish this movement. Yeah, he faced many, many reversals. But he was just observing. He was remaining silent. In one sense, he was observing what's going on. He was checking. He would regularly go to the docks and he was checking. Okay, when are the ships going back to India? If I have to go back to India, and I could go back. I I tried. I did my part. And if this is not going to happen, then I'm going to go back. There was no shame or embarrassment or hiding. We do that. You know, we do that. Anyway, so many movies have been made. Where this I guess this child, he runs away from the village to make it big in the city and all that, right? And then his parents don't know what's going on in the city. He's become either a don or something, or is degraded himself. And he doesn't have a face to go back to his village. Hey, so Srila Prabhupada didn't have any of that. The instructor from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he brought him there. He didn't want something for himself. And he tried his best. He was trying his best. And if it was not going to happen, it was not going to happen. Yeah, and then even after he had some success, then he had this heart attack, third heart attack. And he was really very sick. And Srila Prabhupada said that I need to go back to India. I think I need to recover. So, of course, his disciples were very concerned, and Prabhupada's situation was not so great. So they were really thinking that there is a possibility we might not see Srila Prabhupada again. But anyway, he went back to India, and by the mercy of Krishna, he recovered fully, and then he came back, and then the explosion happened. But Srila Prabhupada remained the same, whether he was in Vrindavan or he came to the West and was trying. And then he established a movement. And again, the hurricanes did not go away. They were hurricanes. Then some of his followers, they started spreading something. There was a threat to ISKCON. So Prabhupada, so painstakingly had established this movement, and there was a threat to ISKCON from within. So then Prabhupada had to face that. Anyway, so there were big hurricanes, small hurricanes, devotees coming and going in one sense. But Srila Prabhupada, he was the rock. I mean, yeah. That's what Guru Maharaj also said. Devotees may come and go. Yeah, but Srila Prabhupada is there. And if we take shelter of him, then we can, you know, navigate through this hurricane. Yeah. Anyway, so many examples can be given from scriptures, but in the interest of time, we will not do that. Such a liberated person is always jubilant. He never laments or aspires for anything. Since everything is supplied to the Supreme Lord, the living entity, being fully dependent on him, should not protest or accept anything in terms of his personal sense gratification. So he accepts. So he's like the Chatak bird, who only takes rain from the cloud. And sometimes the cloud does not give rain, it gives thunder and lightning. But the devotee still, the bird still goes to the cloud. Although there is so much water on the ground, it doesn't take it. So the devotee, to the bird, he accepts both. Right? The rain and the thunder as the mercy of the cloud. So she's considered, yeah, she considers the cloud as her husband. She's chaste and that. So similarly, the Lord may do whatever he may do. And of course, Prabhupada is writing that all these things that are happening in our life is due to the contamination of the modes of material nature. In a way, it's something that we have done ourselves. We have implicated ourselves. So he accepts it. Tathena kampam sushamikshmana punjana evatmakrita vipakam. So he accepts it. And while accepting it, continues to render devotional service. Vedavag vapur vir vidadhan namaste. Jivetayo mukti pradesudaya bhak. So one who lives like that, not just gritting his teeth, but accepting and still staying focused, still remaining Krishna conscious, still remaining focused on his devotional service and activities. That's the point. Then he transcends it. Then he transcends the hurricane. He should receive everything as the mercy of the Lord and remain steady in all circumstances. So this is nishtha, we can say nishtha and beyond. Next purport, just quickly. Vrtrasura was so great and powerful that in effect he was acting as a spiritual master of Indra. I was thinking he beheaded with Vishwarup. He got another guru, a pure devotee guru. Janme Janme Prabhu Shri. Although Vrtrasura was on the verge of defeat, he was not at all affected. He knew that he was going to be defeated by Indra, and he voluntarily accepted that. So he accepted. But since he was supposed to be Indra's enemy, he tried his best to kill Indra. So again, this is not like a drama or something. As Krishna's pastimes, Leelas, they are actually pastimes. They are not fake. They're not acting. So here Vrtrasura is not acting. He is actually fighting with full gusto. He tried his best to kill Indra. Thus he performed his duty. One should perform his duty under all circumstances, even though one may know what the result will be. Wow. Like Prabhupada says in that Bhagavad Gita verse 214, yeah, a devotee, I mean, he doesn't Sometimes, of course, we do that. He doesn't not cook because it's, I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry, so so I'll not cook. Or of course, sometimes we say, well, there is enough prasadam in the fridge, so I'll not cook today. I don't need to cook. But anyway, so there are deities. If there are deities, then one could cook something for the deities, even though one is not hungry or one doesn't need to because there is a lot of leftovers, etc. So Prabhupada, and the example is that so my hunger is not motivating my duty, whether I should cook or not cook, or vice versa. You know, money. I need money, or I knew I don't need money. Well, I don't need money, so I'll not work. No, work we must. If we don't need money, then we can work. Yeah, I guess we can work for Krishna. Or we can even work, even if we don't need money, we can work to set an example. It depends. So that's what it's saying. One should perform his duty under all circumstances, even though one may know what the result will be, even if it is unpalatable, the result. I mean, I know I will fail in the exam, but there's no chance. But even then, I try my best. So chanting, anything we can take. If we can just throw in the towel, well, I will never be able to chant attentively. So why even bother? Why even try? No. But by abhyasa and detachment, we perform our sadhana. And Maharaj was mentioning that according to the Patanjali yoga system, so besides these two, abhyasa and vairagya, the third aspect is also there in every yoga practice. One has staunch faith that by doing this, I will attain the goal. So, yeah, it may be challenging, but by having the strong faith and people you practice with detachment, yeah, however difficult it may be, it may seem. Okay, I think we'll pause here. Hurricane and being equipoised, equanimous in victory and defeat, not being motivated by results with respect to performing our actions. So many things are there. Right. So we covered 15 and 16. We read many verses, but we covered 15 and 16. So any discussion, any sharing? And I was thinking this morning, Shivram Prabhu sometimes does that with me like that. Especially this whole Vrtrasura pastime, and he's eager to die. He's gonna get killed. So I was just thinking this morning, if somebody tells me you have 3 months, if somebody tells me you have 3 months, what would I do? So it's a question for all of you. If Krishna told you you have 3 months starting today, what would you do in those 3 months? So we could discuss this tomorrow or day after, or whenever. Just that could be the morning Bhagavatam class. I was thinking about that 3 months. Mm.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Oh.
Prabhuji, this question is, I can't say, express how much appreciation I have for this question. Very precious question. Like what I got in this class, that I will try to put my best efforts to be Krishna conscious and try to be more, taking more association, especially Prabhupada's association through his books. And I will think more about it.
Yeah, 3 months. Probably the 3 months is not too long, not too short. 3 months. 3 months. Okay, thank you. Anything else, anyone?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept number obeisances. All Gurus, Guru Prabhupada. Yeah. So I was this sloka in 16th verse, 15th verse purport, as you said, is very beautiful. And sloka 16 also, where he says, give up moroseness. So that was very, it was striking a chord in my heart because, these battles in life, this hurricane of this material world, he uses these words, which are very, very, very symbolic, very true. And he says, give up, I have given up my moroseness, and you also give up moroseness, he tells Indra. So this is really great because in Prabhupada's life, as you were mentioning, there were so many ups and downs. And the only thing, as I see, what kept him going, and he was fixed on his mission and the order of his spiritual master, and then that was his goal. And whatever happened, he never kind of blinked, and he never strayed away from that goal. And so that is how I feel with love and faith in Guru and Krishna. This whole mission, Prabhupada has made our goal very clear for everybody, for every grahastha, brahmachari, whatever. And he has told very clearly that this is Dukhalaya Mandasas, And so the only way is, therefore, never give up that focus. I think that is what I was thinking. And this last question, which you mentioned also, and Maharaj Parikshit was also like that. 7 days and 7 nights, he just stayed focused on that. So I think the important thing is to, whatever happens, ups and downs, we have to be working towards that goal. However long it may take, it took Prabhupada 30, 40 years, but still he kept on. And so similarly, whatever time it takes, we may be making slow progress, but still just to remain on that path and stay fixed on the goal without being disturbed. I remember one example which I heard of His Holiness Bhakti, Bhakti Marg Maharaj, I think. So he was saying he was taking children to a lighthouse near a sea, and there is a narrow kind of wall, on which they have to walkway. Yeah, to that. So he says, just don't look that side and this side, because there are ocean and waves, and it can be quite scary, And So it may disturb you and you may fall down also. So he said, just look at the lighthouse and then keep walking. So like that, I think that is the way which Prabhupada demonstrated for all of us. I had some sense of that when I had the accident. So, but I think more and more, as your question, this 3 months kind of again brings into focus the same point. How one should not become morose. Give up moroseness and fight this hurricane and battle of life. So then I think we will, if our attention goes on in working on the goal, then that energy will flow there, as Maharaj says, and we will not be disturbed by the other things. So I think that is how what will help really. So
Right.
that was my take. Thank you so much for the nice, excellent
Hare Krishna.
class. Yeah, thank you so much.
Bhagavatam, Prabhupada's purports are so poetic. I mean, even a dumb man like me can speak something. You just have to ride on Prabhupada's coattails, that's all. Yeah. And that's why I read sufficient, because I read before also, but even during the class, for all of you and all of us, I read, although I may only cover 1 or 2 purports, I read enough translations. So it's a repetition. Tomorrow I'll read again in case you're wondering like, what's going on. Are we going forward or back? I'm not really so much concerned about you going forward or back. Just reading, reviewing again if you need to. Yeah.
And as you said, every sentence of Prabhupada in the purport is loaded with so much meaning. You know, he says, perform duty under all circumstances.
Yeah.
And even though one may know, and as you said, even though one may know what the result will be. So every sentence in purport, I find is so loaded with meaning and application.
Right. Yeah, Prabhupada is amazing. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, anyone? Ananda Lila Mataji, what's going on? Nidhi, Shivaram.
Hey Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for today. It was wonderful. Especially that point about hurricanes, which you explained so wonderfully, that there are so many different kinds of hurricanes that will come, and we just need to focus on the goal. And that was really inspiring for me. And I really want to take some time and reflect on that. And also about the question that what if we had just 3 months left? I think it's a little difficult for me to think of it now because, we feel that, oh, I'm so young, I'm just in my 20s. How will I leave my body? But I think it's a very important question for me to reflect on. So I will also think about that sufficiently.
Well, if you want to complicate it, you could envision yourself as a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old, or however long you think you'll live. I live till 80. All right. So how is Nidhi at 80? Wow. And then you have 3 months. That will actually further complicate the question because now you have to think about what will happen between 20 and 80.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I will think
Either way,
about
either
it.
way,
And
either way, either way. Yeah. Now, this goal roadmap of what he's talking about, yeah, I think there are great books have been written. Even Nelson Mandela is glorified, when he was in the prison for so many years. How did he, make it? Or that very famous book, Viktor Frankl, in the concentration camp. Or yesterday we were hearing actually, last night, all these, why not Bhagavatam, all these kings that were imprisoned by Jarasandha, they were like, wow. I mean, they were told that Krishna would come, but when will he come? Krishna is taking his own sweet time. He is this whole, taking months and years for them to be rescued. But then how are they going on? And they explained actually how they were going on, that they were actually, while in the prison house condition, They were remembering Krishna. And so by remembering Krishna, they became purified. It's like Haridas Thakur telling the prisoners, may you always remain in this condition. Like, what do you mean, may you always remain in this condition? We are in the prison here. He said, yeah, you're in the prison, but here you're focused. You're focused on Krishna. So that's what I meant. I didn't mean that you should stay in the prison forever, but you should stay in this consciousness of being focused on Krishna, even if you get out. Yeah. So anyway, so we can imagine the condition of the kings, especially being so powerful and rich and having everything at their feet. From that, from riches to rags, essentially, huddled up in this cave, 20,000 of them, no food, nothing, and Jarasandha is torturing them. Wow. So what kept them going? Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah. Prabhuji, I was having one more thought in my mind. Like when because I am also not feeling well in my body. Like my body is not always in good condition. Many times up and down. So when I heard this question you asked, so I feel it really very precious, and like I feel happy actually. I feel happy that okay, only 3 months are left now. I know, I know I'm not that much mature in Krishna consciousness, but like I feel quite um, relaxed. If Krishna will give me this chance to know that this much time is only left for me, so I feel very much satisfied. Okay, now this much only I have to go through all this whatever is going on, but um, now I will be having a reason to say others that now I have this reason, so let me please be focused. Like I will do whatever duties are there, but uh, like I I am not able to express,
Well,
but
anyway,
I
that's
feel
that's it.
happy, Prabhuji.
That's an interesting constellation that it has to come to that for us to take care of ourselves,
Yeah.
self-care. Wow. Okay. Well, I have to
Miss,
have a
I really
give
I want
notice.
to understand. Yes, Prabhuji, like I want to understand that how to utilize this happiness to be Krishna conscious, to be focused. Like whenever I feel that okay, if I would be having this much only time, then it will be very nice. I feel nice, very nice, but I want to be learning. I want to learn how to utilize this happiness. If I'm feeling happy, okay, this much time only is left, then very fine. So how to utilize uh, this uh, this consciousness to be Krishna conscious, to be fixed and focused in Krishna consciousness.
Okay, well, summarily, yeah. Well, summarily, the 3 months that we have, yeah, that joy, that happiness that you're saying, try to stay in the service more. Prabhupada talks about this in the purport, right? He says that he doesn't see that as enjoyment. Okay, 3 months I have, only have 3 months. So good riddance, this body is going to finish. I'm going to, yeah, so it's to stay in the service mode. And then from that place, think, hmm, what would I do? Yeah. Anyway, I'm just, I assume that all the, because you're all wonderful devotees, probably nobody would be, fearful and all that. And we're just sort of thinking, freely, wow, 3 months, what would I do? So I didn't factor in, I'm thinking all of you will be fearless in facing it. And then just what would you do out of interest and joy if you know 3 months you have?
Like Prabhuji, I got very big inspiration from my mother's departure. Like she was very blissful and she was knowing, and she herself uh, announced that I am going to leave on Tuesday. So that was a very big inspiration, and she was so blissful and she was so focused and fixed. So I also I also
Well,
pray that
but
I
again,
also
again, the important thing is to remain, yes, because devotees, we're not just bhajananandis. I'm blissful. But Prabhupada is a good image, wonderful example. Even till the last minute, he was serving. Yeah, so of course, Parikshit Maharaj was also serving. He was serving by just hearing. So we may be limited in what we do, but again, the service mode should be maintained. Well, for example, I was thinking, I mean, anyway, just if we were to add some details, like uh, like during the day, I was thinking one thing that I was thinking during the day. Hmm, yeah, first month or so, I'm just thinking, first month or so would be spent with devotees. Yeah, if possible, one on one or or in a smaller group, just yeah, expressing my gratitude and seeking forgiveness, etc. Like that. Focus the devotees, their contributions in my life. And then at some point, like towards the final month, diving into hearing. I was just thinking maybe here you know, like Ramayana for a couple of hours, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So of course, hopefully devotees that will be speaking, it will be beneficial for them. It's also a nice service for them. But if somebody would be there, would be interested to speak, you know, yeah. It's 8-10 hours of katha like that. Anyway, so it's just think about it. What would you do? But again, that hearing Ramayana is not, I guess for my enjoyment of Chaitanya Charitamrita. There has to be a service component there also. So everybody can come. Like this heard Parikshit Maharaj, so many people came together and they heard for 7 days, 7 nights. So everybody is collectively engaged in devotional service. It's like that. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll end.
Hare Krishna.
Shivram, Yes, Prabhu.
Sorry, I think I have a couple of points. I probably should have said that before, but anyway, here we go. So this particular statement never laments or aspires for anything. So I was correlating that with lamenting is in the mode of ignorance, whatever has happened in the past, and
Yeah.
aspiring is for something in the future.
Future. Future.
So that is the general. So that is basically material modes of nature.
Yeah.
And then I was also thinking that this is um, not aspiring for anything. That's pretty strange in a way. But one, you know, at least in my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, at least the way I'm understanding this is in relationship to material goals and material enjoyment. For example, I do want to plan for how do I want to do something in the future with respect to my spiritual goals. So I at least I understood it that this was on a material platform, not aspiring for anything.
That's correct.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Devotee has. That's correct. Devotee. Yeah. Devotee has. Again, this is Achintya Bheda. That he has ambitions, spiritual ambitions, and he doesn't. Meaning, yeah, he's dependent on the Lord. Yeah, but he has aspirations. He's not a stone. Desirelessness. Guru Maharaj, that's what he was explaining this one. Desirelessness means that love, actually, because the soul is concomitant. Desires are concomitant with the soul. So it cannot, it's artificial. It's not even possible to be desireless. But as you're saying, desirelessness means a love, essentially, for Krishna.
Mhm. Yes, Prabhu. So then the other thing is, as soon as the analogy or example of the hurricane was presented. Sorry for the analogy of the hurricane was presented. I was remembering generally the eye of the hurricane
Mm.
is considered to be where nothing much is moving. It's very calm. The eye of the hurricane is generally considered calm, and so that's that something was coming up for that. Like if we are in the center of the eye of the hurricane, then it is relatively peaceful, I suppose. So
I didn't
anyway, I
know that.
just wanted to
Okay.
mention that.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Okay, bro. So,
All
I
right.
think
Thank
there's
you so
more,
much.
but I think for now, I think this is
Yeah.
good. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. All right. So we'll end here. Okay. Thank you all for participating in Bhagavatam readings in the morning. Hare Krishna. Continue.